Hello and welcome to another jungle video. And even though my hello now pales in comparison to the new Volibear rework, I am still here to bring you jungle information, and in this one we are going to be talking about the impact of the invasion, of how to, why to, and when to invade, how you can use this to your advantage to basically take control of games where the laners are winning or losing. Obviously this works better when laners are winning because you prevent the enemy jungler from interacting from that winning game state. However, if your laners are losing, then this will give you the 1v9 capability you need to close the game. As always, at least I hope as always, we have a great gameplay to break down and look at how we can apply this to all our games no matter your MMR. Obviously I will be using Nidalee in the example as she is the quintessential invading jungler, but if your hands have the usefulness of a squid on a beach, then you may consider one of these simpler junglers on screen. And not to mention there's something about a 20% experience buff to solo kills. Solo carry junglers who like to invade and get solo kills on enemy junglers? It's your time. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and perhaps subscribing for all the jungle videos that I'm going to be making, because that's what we do. Now without hesitation, let's get into the context of the video. Now, you might think of invading as counter jungling, but you're seeing on your screen lots of devastation, carnage, traps, dead junglers, huge level leads, and to that end, counter jungling is the gateway. So, all counter jungling is invading, but not all invading is counter jungling. Hopefully that will make sense at the end of the video. But most importantly, there's always different stages of invades and when they are most useful. We have the level 1 invades that translates to continuous jungle invades. You know, you do a late invade on the enemy Aatrox, he dies, you steal his blue, you run across mid lane, you steal his red, you basically suffocate him out of the beginning of the game. That's not really very interesting or fun because if you happen to get lucky in that, then the game is pretty much GG. There's also invades where you simply jungle track and time the enemies clear, you know where he started, you know exactly where they're going to be, you go kill the Karthus. Now you control the whole top side of the other map, you get a gank off, you get your blue buff, and you continually snowball that effect. And in our gameplay, we will look at exactly how you do that. But just as a general note, if you have these invades like the Graves where you have the whole team, they push you off, you have to leave your red, maybe you die, you have to start at your blue, the Graves goes back, does his whole red side, then continuously tries to invade your red. This is really great if you are the Graves and in fact you have your team backing you up. As the Echo, it does suck. But be aware, if you want to do things like this Graves, you cannot be greedy and your execution cannot fail. Invading is not blind, invading is not just rampant aggressiveness. And this is where a lot of people below Master Tier, below Diamond, they fail at the invade game because they do not have a strategic approach, they don't understand when and when not to invade, and they're simply trying to break down the wall by smacking it blindly with a mallet instead of thinking maybe there's a pressure point that I can release that just makes the wall fall down by itself. And this Rengar example is thus. They come for the level 1, he flashes, I flash, I die, that sucks, you know, bad by me, my lane is one in position, it is what it is. However, instead of going to my blue and perhaps giving up my bottom side, the Rengar overstays, I rotate, we kill him, he greeted and stayed too long. So I take my whole red side, told my top laner, hey please can you ward the blue buff? Rengar thinks, hey, I'll just do my red buff into the blue. I have total control. I am Rengar, of course. He didn't stop for a moment to think what exactly my game plan was. I knew he wanted to do this. I was ready for it. Even if my game plan doesn't come, even if it's not warded, I arrive at the blue buff in time. He has no flash. He now dies. Now, instead of going for the top crab, I simply take my blue side. I know Rengar now has red. He got my blue. He will go back to base and head to his bottom side of the map. As such, I collapse and I take the scuttle. I see the Rengar, I say, hello my friend, and then I make sure he's eradicated. And all this does is give me such absolute and total control of the map that he loses his second red, he loses his second blue, he ended up being like 1-6, 1-7. After that one invade kill, he got nothing because he blindly invaded, he didn't think about it, and I instead used counter invading and counter strategy to make sure that he was punished for that playstyle. Right, so how do we invade properly and how do we make sure we end up with that 4-level lead? We jump into a high elo game, Nidalee vs Jarvan. Now as a farmer, Nidalee can farm remember, you are looking to do a full clear or at least have maximum impact on your camps. Yes, you have opportunistic ganks, but I think a good full clear, at least in your mind, is what you're looking for. Jarvan's always going to do buff grump level 3 gank. Predictable, nothing exciting about it. This is why it can be so useful to make sure you start on the same side of the map. Why? Yeah, the Jarvan gets off a kill here. And he has a Maokai versus a Kalista. That chain CC means even a Kalista will not be escaping very much. Nidalee now can rotate up, she knows he's waiting in the bush, and you can observe the duel on screen. He tries to EQ, she flashes out, good reactions, low ping, very nice. Jarvan is able to escape, but the Maokai isn't so lucky and that tree is felled by a spear. And that's a metaphor, please don't in the comments tell me you don't cut down trees with spears, I know you don't. Jarvan moves up to avoid the spear from the Nidalee, good reaction, good anticipation, and here is where it begins. Cougar form over the wall, try and cut him off, you miss your spears because, you know, even the best do miss spears, but you're able to auto attack him down, outplay his EQ by having good ability spacing knowledge, and then your heal on your red buff does the rest of the work. Please do remember that Nidalee's spear is not an auto attack. Her auto attacks are auto attacks. The spear can be thrown and missed, but you can auto attack in human form, and you should really do that when you have that red buff. Harass, poke, use your ranged advantage. During some of my coaching sessions this week, we had a Kazakh's main who was trying to do invades on Master Yi's. I'll show you some of the clips now. When mechanical misplays or misunderstanding about enemy champions happens in the low and mid MMRs, a once very good invade, well timed and well executed, can end up being things used against you. In both these examples, the Master Yi should have died, using misdirection, using your spells better, throwing in the auto attacks, having a better rune set. It's a good move, but you have to make sure you come away with the win. That's why Nidalee is so good. You saw her, as we come back to that game, use good mechanics, use good spacing to make sure she won, even though 99% of us probably wouldn't be able to pull out that play. I mean, I couldn't have. I played like a dodo compared to these people. Now, when it comes to invading, that's not really an invade, but Nidalee has set up her actions by having a good full clear, counter ganking him top lane, taking the crab, doing that drive-by gank in the mid lane to pick up yet a third kill, and now she will get another kill on the bottom lane, where the Jarvan will be forced into another death because of her presence. Early reactions to ganking junglers that shut them down, early reactions to tracking and making sure they are forced into overplaying their ganks later on, means you will have control of the map. The Jarvan's logic was that, well, Nidalee killed me on the top side, she's gonna take my Grump and Wolves, which are the easier camps for me to secure. She'll take that crab, and by the time Nidalee was crossing the mid lane, basically it was too late for him to adjust his pathing and he had to try and get a gank off early because Krugs and Raptors, you know, that doesn't really strike me as an easy Jarvan camp, and he can't really contest 1v1 the crab given that he has no flash now. Nidalee now will head directly to the bottom side of the map for two reasons. One, that's where the dragon's going to be, and two, her Wolves and Grump will be up. This will be second tier Wolves and Grump, and high elo junglers have very heavily focused the second tier and third tier spawns of their camps over the level 1 versions, simply because it gives more experience in the moment. There's no catch up, but you can get more experience from that camp that gives you more of a lead over the enemy jungler. In certain elos, you will see roaming supports. Make sure you pick them up. They are simply level 3 sushi. They mean nothing to you whatsoever. You poke them down, a bubble bursts in the air, and you can fall back to the dragon. Because of the Jarvan's desperation and his inability to convert anything, he will be forced now into the top side. This means the dragon take is uncontested, and this basically will just set up Nidalee to tighten the restraints on the Jarvan tighter and tighter as the game goes on. And yeah, I could make an Evelyn joke, but you know. And now is when the ultimate invasion will begin. She's bided her time, she set herself up, she controlled her own jungle, she got the gank, she got the objectives. She rotates now from the dragon straight to the top lane to pick off the low HP target. Again, you can do this if you have a good invading jungler. Your mobility is good, you have navigation. Don't be afraid to use the cracks and crevices of the vision control on the map to make sure you sneak up there, hit a long range spear, kill number 6, and this is where I want to bring up my whiteboard. You have to look at the camps. Where's the Jarvan going to be? He was just on the top side as red buff is spawning. He must have just cleared those blue side camps. He will definitely be heading there. As such, the true purpose of this video, the invasion must begin. Your sphere of influence as a jungler is usually your jungle and then neutral battleground in the river. If you have lane prior, if your lanes are winning, that extends a bit more. If they're losing, it extends a bit back. However, as an invading jungler with an absolutely devastating lead, and whose lanes in mid and bottom lane are winning because of your gank's impression and suppression of the enemy jungler, means your sphere of influence needs to move as you see on screen. And by doing this, by using the shove that your lanes have, you can move from one side of the map very quickly. So, after killing the Maokai, you shift on down through the river behind the Lux because it's shoved, you will not be detected, move into the point where his red is going to be taken. 6 kills, minion soak, dragons, your camps, you're level 7. Oh, hello Jarvan, let me take that red buff off your hands. You're level 4, that's such a shame. Push him out of the jungle. If you get a kill, it's nice, but not getting a kill here is actually much better. This is why. You can let him have the Krugs. No one cares about those. Go to the Raptors, leave a baby so that he's forced to clear it to get the reset of experience. Go to the mid lane, and the reason you leave the Krugs there and you're happy you didn't kill him is because the Wolves, Grump, and Blue on the top side have now respawned. If you killed the Jarvan, if you hung around too long on the bottom side of the map, maybe you look for a gank or whatever, the Jarvan will go to the blue side, get those 3 camps, and while there's no catch-up experience, they still will give him level 5 and level 6, because they are of course spawning significantly ahead of his own level. However, because Nidalee chose to do the 200 IQ pathing, cross the mid lane, maybe you get a gank off, maybe you don't, poke them out, shove the wave, keep that lane priority that you worked so hard to get, go into his jungle, steal his blue, take his wolves, take his grump, take the crab, take the herald. Where is the Jarvan going to go once he's done Raptors and cleared that baby Raptor? There is only one place he can go, and it's what any jungler would do in this situation. I need to either gank or counter jungle in kind. But if you remember from the list at the beginning of the video, an invading jungle is something that at some point will farm very quickly. That's important. After taking Herald back to base, knows the Jarvan is 100% going for her blue, even if there was no vision. Of course, in this case there was vision, you go and collapse onto it. Is a little bit of a Spear of Destiny. She does the wolves first, hits max range onto him, and he dies from an auto attack. The defense of your own jungle, the control of your own camps is very important if you want to commit invasion. If you want to do what the Nidalee's done here, it's not necessarily about the kills 1v1 as we were talking about in the introduction, it's about the denial and the shoving of his influence. It's making his influence feel absolutely minuscule. He's a moon, you're Jupiter. And this is where you're going to see the absolute beauty of that pathing from the second red into the blue side that she did that resulted in her getting Herald. She uses Herald bottom lane, which is auto-winning because of her presence. Because all of this happens so quickly, the Jarvan knows upon respawning from his death that he cannot go to the top side. There's no Herald, the Wolves and Grump will not have spawned, it hasn't been 2 minutes, he is again forced to go to the bottom side, to those Krugs. This means Nidalee can simply get a kill gank on the mid lane because no risk of the enemy jungler showing up, take his raptors, run into her jungle, and finally can actually do the second tier raptors into her red and into her own Krugs. She delayed taking that purely because she lived in the river, lived in his jungle, read him like an open book, and now has more absolute power than knowledge of all the Sith. And now here is where you have to be just a little bit careful because obviously at this point they know you went topside. You haven't continued the invasion by taking his blue side camps. You'd rather gank the top lane and get that tower. Your only lane that really wasn't stomping was the Kalista. This will give the enemy jungler the chance to rotate topside and try and fight you if you are low. And as you can see from the fight here, mechanical gods will reign supreme. And hopefully the jungler you're using for this particular playstyle, you can do the same kind of thing. Level 10 to level 6, you should always win. And from here, of course, you must go back to base, get your blue side, get the dragon, and close out. I will leave a link to a coaching video I did on this kind of macro endgame decision making. Those kind of principles remain the same no matter what kind of early game you have. But needless to say, the Nidalee keeps control, they keep shoving, the whole team is fed, and it makes it very easy. Now, obviously, a lot of you are thinking, well, what if the enemy lane is rotating collapse? Well, that's the whole point. It did happen once or twice with Nidalee, but she farms so quickly, she has good map ability, she's in and out. The same should happen with Kayn, the same should happen with Graves. If you find yourself always being collapsed on by the enemy laners, perhaps you shouldn't have been invading in that particular moment. You have to read the map very carefully. In this game against a Rek'Sai, it's the same thing. The Nidalee opts to go for a full clear, is able to get an assist or two with good collapses and skirmishes in the river. She does another full clear, and she's level 6 and 7 before she starts counter jungling as a byproduct of what the Rek'Sai does. And again, this counter jungling forces the enemy jungler to stick to one side of the map, and that's how you control them. The most important thing is, if your lanes are winning, this is how you carry the game. You suppress and make sure the enemy jungler does not exist. You make sure you secure those heralds. Even if you don't have high kill participation, your CS should be astronomical. The enemy jungler should have none. And this is when my own personal expertise comes into play. Because I play things like Zyra and weird junglers, I am always invaded. And as such, they take weird invades, silly invades, level 3, level 4. They try and collapse on me and kill me. I ward, I react, I counter jungle in kind. If I see them topside, I simply take their Krugs and Raptors. I have no issue avoiding them entirely. And in the end, I get so many ganks and objectives just by reading it well and playing safely. If you can control your own jungle, you cannot be invaded, even if all lanes are losing. Again, we've done a video on that as well. Nevertheless, I hope the biggest takeaway from this and the Nidalee game specifically is that your champion pick is correct. You understand that basically you must steer the enemy jungler where you want him to be and make sure you are there to capitalize on the situation, secure those objectives when he is forced to the other side, and then adjust your reign of terror such that the game is suffocating and very tilting for them. If you can do this, if you can get these solo kills, if you can make those mechanical outplays when you're fed, get triple kills on the top lane, get the heralds, you will see yourself winning so many games just as a total byproduct of the solo kill experience buffs coming next packs. That's 20% more for invading junglers if you can set traps, be patient, force them out of the jungle, and get those solo kills. I mean, it's really something to think about. If you're a Shaco player, this is going to be great for you. If you can structure those invades very well, do exactly what the Nidalee's doing here, you're going to have so much gold. Even if by doing so you prove yourself to be an immoral, unethical scumlord. But it is what it is. People will be people. What can you do? If you enjoyed and learned something, please do like, share, and comment. I do always like to reach around 1500 likes. It makes me feel more like the reworked Volibear, at least in my dreams. Don't forget to subscribe for videos coming next week, and as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.